This solo has melody, feel, and that slightly magical thing where even the simple bits sound like nobody else. That's why this solo rules. Hey, it's Owen here. Today's solo is Love Walks In by Van Halen. What I love about this solo is that Eddie doesn't go full alien mode. There's a real melodic thread that runs throughout the whole thing. He could have absolutely filled the whole thing with outrageous nonsense from another dimension. But instead, he plays something melodic, tasteful, emotional, and perfectly suited to the song. I still remember the moment Eddie Van Halen rewired my brain. When I first started playing guitar, I thought Hank Marvin and Eric Clapton were as good as guitar could ever get, which is not exactly a criminal opinion. Tell this young version of me that one day there would be a guitar player that I would like more than Hank Marvin, and I would have laughed in my own face. But one day, a friend brought around the first Van Halen album, put on Eruption, and that was it for me. Mind blown. I never fully recovered. Potentially unpopular opinion, depending on where you sit on the Dave versus Sammy side of the fence. But for me, 5150 is my favourite Van Halen album. And timing this episode is great. We just passed the 40th anniversary of this album coming out.
It's been 84 years.
Firstly, it gives you something to remember straight away. The solo starts with a real melodic idea, not just some flashy guitar hero thing, but it gives you a phrase that really sticks in your head. And the clever bit is, he doesn't just leave the idea there. Secondly, it's the use of repetition. Throughout the first part of the solo, Eddie comes back to that initial melodic idea, plays it again, but with slight different phrasing or a little added bit of melody on it, which ties the whole thing together nicely. Thirdly, the phrasing and tone make this very recognizable. Even when he's not doing the wildly technical stuff that he's known for, you can still tell that it's Eddie Van Halen. The timing has that little push and pull, and the bends and vibrato are unmistakably Eddie. Right from the start, you can tell what kind of solo this is going to be. No dramatic shred announcement, no display of gymnastic abilities, just a really memorable melodic phrase that gets stuck in your ear and really fits the emotion of the song. And that timing is a bit trickier than it sounds. There's one little bit in the middle of that phrase which is deceptively tricky to get right. It's a series of bends, a half step, then a full step. If you don't hit those bends spot on, you're going to be in for a very long night. Breaking news, Eddie Van Halen was very good at playing fast. One way he did this was by using legato, which in fancy guitar terms we would call a series of hammer-ons and pull-offs. In tackling this bit of the solo, break it up into sections, maybe 3 notes at a time. Get that hammer-on action happening and speed it up. And then just work through the rest of the notes. Even up to that tricky little stretchy bit at the end. Just when you think the solo's done, Eddie does some Eddie things. He plays this beautiful melody with some tapped harmonics. You can do a tapped harmonic by hitting the string directly on the fret. The easiest harmonic to get is 12 frets above the fretted note. So on this one we're playing the 5th fret. So count up 12 to the 17th, and we're going to hit directly on the fret and remove our finger super quick. He also gets some additional notes without moving his fretting hand, still fretting the 5th fret. Starts off tapping the 17th, and then the 12th, and finally the 10th fret. And not only does he play these tapped harmonics, he's also bending the notes after he's tapped the harmonic and also sliding after he's tapped the harmonic. Oh, you're gonna want some gain for this. That's why the solo from Love Walks In by Van Halen rules. It starts with a memorable melodic idea and just keeps building from there. Plus, it's got Eddie's technique, tone, and personality all over it start to finish. If you've got a solo you think rules, and you think I might like it too, drop it down in the comments, and you may see it in an upcoming episode. And if you are enjoying this video, click subscribe for more solos that rule. So what gear was used on the original recording? Tone-wise, this is still Marshall era Eddie Van Halen. As best as I could find out, 5150 was recorded using that late 1960s 100 watt Marshall Super Lead or Plexi amp, which Eddie used on so many of his other records. And the Variac was probably in there as well to change the voltage. The Soldanos and the PV and EVH 5150 amps came along a bit later. Guitar-wise, this was the mid-80s Eddie era. Banana headstock Kramers, single humbuckers, Floyd Roses for maximum chaos but with very stable tuning. Reports on Eddie's 1986 setup put the Kramer custom 5150 striped guitars in about that era. The main thing though on the amp is it's not just a lot of gain, it's still really clear. It's mid-focused, very vocal sounding, and bright enough to cut through all those keyboards and 80s production. Another really important part of the tone on this album was the use of an Eventide to do a detuning effect. The exact unit and settings used are argued about by guitar nerds all over the internet, because of course they are. But that slightly widened, detuned sound was a big part of Eddie's tone during that period. As for me today, I am not going to try and build a museum grade 1986 Eddie Van Halen rig, but I'm going for the spirit of it. I'm playing my EVH 5150 striped series, and I'm going through a Nembrini, am I saying that right? Nembrini plugin. I'm also using an Eventide MicroPitch plugin to get that widened sound. Oh. And a Floyd Rose is highly recommended for doing this sort of thing. What do you think of this?